most people don't have a police force that can handle cybercrime. A
Yeah,
lot of
go
people
ahead.
kind of get surprised and upset that there's not a central place for them to go. So
Right.
from your experience, what's the first step that someone should take when they get attacked by a cyber criminal?
So in the US, from a law enforcement perspective, right, it'd be the FBI and the Secret Service, depending on the circumstance. And the fact of the matter is, they're backed up.
Yeah.
Even when you get the FBI, they're going to tell you, we'll get back to you. And depending on the severity and the caseload and what they have going on and how big of impact, you know, it could take days, literally. And time is everything when it comes to an incident or a breach.
Right.
So this gets back to having the plan beforehand and having it tested beforehand, because you're not going to know who to call, Lou, especially if it's international. You're
Yeah.
not going to know where to go or who to call. It's got to be mapped out ahead of time. And you're going to really want legal counsel involved when you're at that, when you've determined, okay, we've lost personal information, and this is now going to be determined a breach. Then you're going to have to get your lawyer involved, is what's really going to happen in your lawyer, because the breach notification is a mess.
So when you're talking about building a plan, the first thing on your list is legal representation.
Oh yeah, yeah, because even when you're building your plan, it's good to get legal involved, because then it's covered, right? And
Yeah.
then as far as if it ever goes to court or something happens to somebody, cyber is now a weapon. So this literally can result in physical damages to people,
Yeah.
including death. And so that's scary, right? So it's really important to get counsel and legal involved in the process, not only when there's an incident and building the plan, but really when you do an assessment, it's good to have that covered.
If you ended up getting cyber insurance, wouldn't their legal people handle it for you?
That's why you have to vet the policy, and that's another reason to have legal involved in when you before you engage in a cybersecurity policy, because right, it's going to say they have control, they make the decisions, they decide when you pay the ransom, etc. And for them it's purely financial, and it's purely one-sided financial model is the considerations
Yeah.
that they're taking into when they make these decisions. So that's why, as a consumer of that, you have to make an exception or try to work with them on the policy. I've seen not a lot, but I've seen some flexibility there, making it maybe a co-decision. But that takes some work, and it takes some help before you just sign a
Okay.
policy. It's great
Okay. So
advice.
we'll put a pin in that one. Let's go back to the legal representation.
Yep.
How many lawyers are there that have experience in this kind of thing?
2 years ago to 5 years ago, there's a smattering. I'm seeing now there's a fairly decent concentration on it. Getting a lawyer for cyber, you have to vet them like anything else, right? You have to qualify them, check them out, make uh, the whole process all the way through. But you're going to find that in every major city, there's plenty of representation. There's more problems in getting somebody that'll give you cryptocurrency or be able to procure that for you
Yeah.
than getting a lawyer. But you want to get the lawyer, you want to make sure they're credible, you want to check their experience out, etc.
Yeah.
But they're getting more and more. It's becoming a concentration, privacy and security.
Okay. Good. Okay. So legal, with our plan, you've got to have legal representation. What's the next step?
Yeah. So when you're developing a plan, there's quite a few things to think about, right? You're going to want to build a team, right? And you're going to want to build a security response team within your organization is where it starts. And there's some positions. An incident commander is the person in your organization that is the boss if there's an incident.
Mhm.
So it's usually the COO, or it depends, right? It's different in different organizations, but that has to be assigned ahead of time. Who is the commander of our incident response plan, right? And then there's an advisor, literally, that is generally somebody with understands a little bit of the regulatory environment and some of the legal aspects. So you assign these roles within the incident response plan, and then you start to get into the plan. And in the plan, legal is right up front, right? Not only who legal is, but when do you engage them, right?
Mhm.
When do we know that it's time to call legal? And my advice is going to be have the plan because it's going to depend on your business and your situation and what you're dealing with, right? So having that plan ahead of time is crucial. The second, you're going to want crisis communications,
Okay.
right?
Now,
You need
yeah. So
PR. Yeah.
in this process, do people like you act as the advisor role, or
Yeah.
are you? So yeah, you are.
We're,
But you.
we're a sub, I'm a sub team advisor. So you're
Okay.
going to have sub teams under this, right?
Okay.
And that's what I do. So they'll bring me in immediately, right? When that incident occurs. So I'll go, and when I'm there, I'm an advisor, but in the end, it's a business decision.
Yeah.
We will lay out the facts, tell them what we're seeing, what we know, our experience, what we're learning, but the final decision maker is the incident commander.
Right.
you know, Incident response, bring on legal early, digital forensics, all that is so important because if it's mishandled, it's like a court case, Lou. It's like when you watch Law and Order, if something is mishandled, it's useless. It's no
Yeah.
good. So that's what's going down here when it gets down to brass tacks is when an incident happened and a breach occurs, who took care of it? How was it handled? What is the chain of custody? What did they do? How is that evidence exposed? All this comes out. So it's important to have in your plan somebody you can go to that can do that ahead of time. These are things you
Okay.
don't want to scramble and do on the fly. And what I'm seeing is people try to cover it up and fix it themselves. And that's just a ticking time bomb.
Yeah. Well, 9 times out of 10, a company that gets hit with this does not have the personnel to be able to say, okay, this is the incident commander, this is the advisor, you know. So they
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 will,
pro-
Lou, in their organization, but they need outside expertise. But
yeah,
that needs to be assigned internally, and then you'll have
yeah,
your expertise
but
outside.
don't you think that people like you can provide the services to companies like this to get themselves set up, to get them
Yeah.
started in their plan?
Yeah, there's a couple things. One is having an incident response plan, right? That's the first
Right.
thing, is having the plan developed. And then running an incident response tabletop exercise at least annually. And then during this exercise, you're going to go through an incident. You're going to go through hopefully several incidents. We did it just this last week with an organization. We went through 6 different scenarios where we sit down with the team, which is your incident response team that you formed with inside your organization. It's going to be people from HR, right? It's going to be somebody from finance. It's going to be different people within the organization. And then we go through different events. Some in our, one was a hacktivist group did not like how we were using people's personal information. And that was one of the hacks. What do we do? How do we respond? One of them was somebody was taking pictures of a digital camera and inserted into the network something that was corrupt, right? What do we do then? So when you go through these exercises, not only does it make you have your incident response plan in order and make sure that it's correct and works for you, it's almost like an assessment because you're going to
Mm.
revert back to your policy and revert back to everything. So it's really useful exercise to do. And you're going to learn a lot. And the other people in the organization are going to be like, wow, this is very serious and interesting. So remember we talked about CPPT, culture, people, process, technology. It's a culture thing at that
Right.
point. So it's really important.
Okay. I think that's great for right now. Thanks for your time, and
Yes.
thank you for helping us stay safe.
Yeah, let's keep going. I love it, Lou. Thank you very much.